Talk Show. Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you are listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 717. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today, I have my favorite co-host, Bob Plankers. Today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Bob, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good. It's a really good day. Lots of good stuff been happening lately, so it's a good week. It's rainy and cold in the Bay Area. You know, we got the storm coming through again and dropped down to like 40, 39 at night and 50 during the day. So it's just like they said, no. You know, groundhog is right. 6 more weeks of winter.
The groundhog was right this year, wasn't he? So.
Yeah, it is. I was out for coffee and I had my winter coat on and I was shivering because, you know, nothing like a little wind to make you feel wet and miserable, right?
Yeah. Well, it's nice out here, so you should come by and visit. We can sit on my patio.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, look, today it's been a good week. Lots of buzz been going on. You know, I guess the Advantage program is going out next week, right, for licenses. So if you pass your VCP-VCF, you'll be able to go get onto your portal, get your licenses. And so we've been doing a lot of testing on that. And William Lamb's been building his hands-on lab Nook. I've been building my hands-on lab Look for VCF. And so just a lot of excitement going on, right? And we have the CTAB in the town. All the big customers are in Palo Alto this week. So they're around. It's good to see the big customers. A lot of excitement there. So, and then on the show today, we got Marc Crawford, who's going to be talking about his experiences deploying VCF 5.1 in a nested virtual environment, which if you're building a home lab environment, that's pretty much what we get to do, right? Like is build in a nested environment and see if we can get everything running, you know, on the necessary, I don't know how many ESX servers you need to run VCF these days, like maybe 9, but I'm sure Marc will explain it to us. So, but before we get to that, do we have any news? Corey Romero is out sick today, so we're not going to be talking about vExperts. I know that VMUG Orlando went off last week. Thanks for all those who were there at Top Golf. That was good. I know they had 100+ people at the VMUG meeting, so that's good. The Netherlands, I think, has 450 people registered. I think that's coming up next week or the week after. I'm not sure what the date is, but it's coming up. It's somewhere near the end of March. So Netherlands should be a fun event. That's like usually a $50 pay for event for people in Europe who want to go by. Hawk's going to be there. I think there's several other, Chris Wolf and a couple others are going to be there doing a session. So that's kind of like a mini big event that'll be happening in Europe for the Netherlands. So excited about that. And then of course, VMUG Connect, we're coming up to VMUG Connect. I know Reg is chugging along there. That's in St. Louis in end of April. So, Bob, I know you talked about going, and then I believe Call for Papers is scheduled to land for Explore. Going to be next week, and so we're going to have Miriam Scoble, who runs the content tracks. She's going to come on the podcast and just give us a little update on what's going to happen with Call for Paper. So that's what I got in the news. Other than I think we announced earnings somewhere, we did okay. So
we
that's
did all right.
Yeah. Did okay.
I did have one other thing to mention, and some people gave me a little bit of a ribbing last week because I do security and compliance stuff. There was a vulnerability disclosed last week. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. You know. It patch. That's the only thing I would say. But other than that, I don't have any news that you haven't covered. I'm excited for the Explorer Call for Papers. That should be interesting.
Yeah, and I know that if you're a customer, the community talks have always been without a pass, but this year that's changing. So if you are a customer and you are a community member and you get a community talk accepted, you will get a pass this year, right?
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
That's yeah, that's right.
Well, didn't you say last week that the community stage was expanding as well. So
That's right. The community stage is going to, I think, have 80 seats instead of 40. So they are trying to focus the event, and I don't want to give too much away before Marianne comes and talks to us next week, but they are focusing the event more on the practitioner. It is seen as a practitioner event this year. So focusing on that, offering, spending money. They're going to have, I'm not allowed to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but they're going to have a community price for the expo hall only. So instead of needing to spend, upwards of a couple $1,000s, you'll get it significantly lower if you just want to come and hang with the community and do all the community sessions, which there'll be about 100 sessions in the expo hall with the community hub all integrated together. And there's a couple other things you get with this low priced. So they're going to have price tiering passes. So I'm not allowed to announce them yet. They will come. That's on its way. Yeah. So it's a lot of excitement between Advantage Labs, Home Labs, William Lamb's been cooking away. He's got a successfully running VCF on a NUC. So we've got a NUC spec that we talked about. The GDK one came in. I think he has 128 gig of memory in it. To then
Nice.
run holodeck, which is nice on a NUC. And Mark's here to talk about it as well. And then we're hacking around on stuff. There's several different people that have hacked on the installer to see if you can get it on something uber small, like a Raspberry Pi 3 with a gig of memory. No, that's not happening. I'm just kidding. We'll go with that.
Not yet. Yes.
Yeah. So that's all I got. So let's introduce our guest, Marc Crawford, who's been patiently listening to us and talk about his experiences with deploying VCF in a nested virtual environment. So Marc, we always start, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us where you live, where you reside, kind of like what city. You don't have to give us your address or anything, but what region of the world are you in, and how did you get here? Like why, what's your career arc look like? You get a couple minutes here to introduce everybody in the community to yourself.
Yeah, so I live in St. Louis. I'm actually one of the St. Louis VMUG leaders. And I would just like to give a little plug for our next upcoming meeting. It's on March 18th. And if you don't have a pass to connect, come to the meeting for a chance to win a pass to connect.
That's really cool.
Nice. Yeah, awesome. Love that.
It's going to be at the beer garden at the Anheuser-Busch. So it's the same location that's going to be at the Connect welcoming party.
So you get a test run there. You get a test run, bulk up on your beer drinking capabilities, get to know everybody.
Yeah.
Nice. So how long have you been in the ecosystem for VMware, in using VMware? And I don't think I announced your company as well. So I should do your title, which is your senior solutions engineer at Blackspoke, but tell us a little bit about your career.
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force for 10 years. And then after I got out of when I was in the Air Force, I worked on airplane radio. So after I got out of the Air Force, I worked government contracts ever since. And since about 2011, I started using VMware products. I helped a project that we virtualized basically a small Air Force network in a training environment so that airmen could come in and we could set it up, and then did all types of training on that, and that was really neat. But ever since then, I've used all different types of VMware products, ESX. I started with VCP 4, so I worked all the way up from VCP 4 to VCP VCF. So I've been using all workstation, ESX. I have a little bit of experience with VMware ARIA automation. We're doing some workflow stuff. So, and I have experience with NSX. Where I work at now, we basically have all the projects deployed. We're using NSX, ARIA, Log Insight, automation, a little bit of everything. So
that's really cool.
That's awesome. You're the classic use case of going STDC full stop, controlling everything through software.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to be going to VCF anytime soon. Maybe when 9 gets released and the import tool supports NSX. But as far as now, I don't think there's any urgency to migrate to VCF.
And that's one of the nice things about it came out with VCF 5.2, the brownfield import, where it can import the discrete products like that. So yeah, bring you into the fold with VCF if you're doing it kind of a la carte now. So very cool.
So you did this paper that was at Explore last year, VCF 5.1 in a nested virtual environment. How did you get the idea, and where, tell us the story on how you ended up doing this? And I assume it's in your home lab environment. So I just thought I would ask you about that.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I was at a VMUG, I think it was a UserCon, and Matt Hillstab gave a session on deploying VCF. And so it gave me the idea, it gave me the motivation that I need to do this in a lab environment. I was like, if he can do it, I could do it. So, because I had tried back in the 4.x days, and I just didn't have much luck, and I got discouraged. So when 5.1 came out, and I saw Matt do it in the VMUG session, I was like, I need to get a hold of the bits and deploy it in my home lab. So that was really the motivation for me to get started and give it a try.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, Matt does that presentation a lot, it seems, and yeah, really encouraging people to do that. So yeah, so what did you find? Did it work smoothly?
For me, what hardware did you start with? Right,
that's a good start. What's the underlying thing that you're using?
Yeah. So luckily, where I work at a previous job, I had access to some unused Dell R730s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they had half a terabyte of RAM in them, and with a couple of terabyte of drives. So I was not restrained by any type of resources. So yeah, luckily. I left the server at the office, so I didn't have to worry about power at my house or anything. So I would just remote in and play with it while it was there. So I didn't have to turn machines off in the middle of the night or anything like that. So that was really awesome that I had that resource to play with. So I didn't.
It's kind of cheating, but I did the same thing where what I really got tired of was listening to the fan noise on my Super Micro, right? Where they have like 4 jet engine little fans, and it's a little lunchbox sized machine. These Super Micros aren't even a full rack. They're just like a quarter rack, kind of quarter width, they're small. You set them in a platform, but I've got a buddy that has a rack down in San Jose. And so he's like, yeah, sure. You can put it in my cage. I don't mind. And that's my home lab machine now. Right. It's like, because you don't have to listen to the noise.
But to your comment, it's not cheating. I never thought of it as cheating by hosting it at work, because work gets something out of it too, right? Like you're leveling up your skills and they benefit directly from that. So cheating.
Other than the name is called Home Lab, but okay.
Well, maybe you live at the office, Eric.
Yeah.
You should get a life.
I spend so much time there that sometimes it is considered home.
Yeah. We're talking yesterday about that with the CTAB members, and I'm like, yeah, I'm old school. I still like going into a data center and hearing the noise and seeing all the blinky lights and racking and stacking. I'm still a very physical kind of guy. So
I think that's why we get along. Yeah, it's just nice to see the blinky lights sometimes. Remember that there's a server underneath all of this stuff, and there's value to be had there.
The only problem I have with that is that there's a guy somebody owns a cage that's directly behind our cage, right? And he's got like 4 servers that have alarms going. So when you go, you're like meep, 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 the whole time.
Their smoke alarm batteries. It's like,
oh my gosh! I just want to get some goo be gone or something. Just
take a piece of wire. Get a section of Romex or something like that. Right. Strip it down, but take a piece of wire and stick it in. Push the button on there to silence.
Silence the alarm. Yeah. All right, Mark. So you got some heavy Dell server, 500 gig of memory, and a couple terabytes of storage. So you're well on your way. What was the beginning of the journey, and take us through that fun presentation.
Yeah. So the beginning of the journey basically started putting ESXi on the physical host, and then virtualizing some ESXi servers. So and that step actually took me a little while because I virtualized all the servers, and then I didn't realize there were some settings in there that I needed to modify for the VCF deployment to go smoothly. So that actually stumped me for a little bit. I had to do a bunch of research online, and luckily I found a blog article somebody had written about the settings I needed to enable to be able to virtualize those ESXi hosts so that I could actually deploy it. So, but once I got that figured out, then I needed to actually stand up DNS and NTP and some type of AD authentication. So really that's pre VCF deployment. So you really need to make sure that you have all of that done and ready to go before you actually deploy your to try to deploy VCF.
Well, and that's a really interesting point because DNS tends to be where people get hung up with VCF. You do need forward and reverse. You need your A records, you need your PTR records, which if you're using Cloud DNS or something like that, you can host a domain in Cloudflare, but you can't do the reverse is the thing. And so that's where you end up having the Active Directory. Did you just do your DNS locally on an AD instance?
Yeah.
So that's a good way to go. And then VCF is actually sensitive to case. Their DNS in general is not case sensitive, but VCF is, and we know about it. We'll get to it. We'll fix that at some point here. But so people who have uppercase host names or whatever, and then the PTR record is in lowercase or something like that, the VCF installer gets hung up there. That's a common
That's good to know.
So
luckily, I always do everything in lowercase.
Well, consistency is good too, and that's usually our answer. Like, why are you doing it differently? So, but anyhow.
So that, and another big thing that I always tell people is to make sure that you have when you download that spreadsheet and you're doing all your networks, make sure that you have all the routing set up for all of those different networks. Luckily, I had access to a Cisco router, Cisco 2600 router. And so I had all my networks programmed into my router, and I make sure that all the routing was correct. So if you're doing some type of different vMotion, vSAN management network, if you're doing all those in different VLANs, that type of thing, you really need to make sure that you have all that set up correctly in your router.
Yeah, the installer will check that as well. It'll attempt to ping everything. There's a lot of organizations that also get hung up because they don't believe in ping, and hey, you got to open that up so that the stuff can check the connectivity and things. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have got caught up by that, right? Like, okay, it's going to go ping and check all your networks.
Yeah, it's just double checking that the environment is what it expects. It wants success later so that it checks stuff ahead of time. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's nice that you had a router. Those 2600s are, fairly versatile.
Yeah, they're old, but they work good.
Yeah, you're just passing packets, man,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not doing anything complex. I'm not doing BGP, OSPF, no special routing protocols. Just all static routes.
Yeah.
So then once I verified that all of those prerequisites basically are all set up, then and I have my ESXi hosts all ready to go, then I started the install.
And it's an OVF? Is it an OVF that you get? And then
the Cloud Builder. So once you download the Cloud Builder, and I deployed the OVF into the host. Luckily, that my host had enough resources so I could do the Cloud Builder on the same physical host as the deployment. So, yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
No, I think that's what William is checking to make sure that 128 gig of memory is enough to go get that thing going, Cloud Builder going, and I think that's what he's verified on the NUC. Said you want 100.
That as a VM on workstation too, if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah, but where do you get a workstation that has 128 gig of memory? Like I don't have 128 gig of memory on my gaming machine.
You don't need 128 gigs of RAM for the Cloud Builder. Cloud Builder is just going to copy stuff.
Oh,
I don't-
that's what I wasn't sure. Okay, all right. So you think that it'll run in less than that? All right.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Yeah, all right. That's where I was confused because I was like, I can't. Because it's like, well, it's a giant OVF and Cloud Builder's the constraint, and you need 96 gig. But
Cloud Builder needs 4 gigs of RAM and 4 CPUs.
all right, all right.
4 gig.
4 gig, only 4 gig.
Only 4 gig.
Or only oh my goodness, 4 gigs. Yeah, but it does need 279 gigs of storage. So
279 gigs. Okay, that's reason. That's fine. Yeah, you can make that happen. Yeah. Okay, got it. Run it on your Windows machine. Yeah, you need no problem. You need
it's
a
a small
terabyte of disk.
It'll fit in Mark's
Yeah.
pile of R730s, no problem.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So did you run into any snags? It installed properly? Like,
And
did you have to start over at some point?
Well, I mean, obviously it didn't run successfully the first time. Basically, I got hung up on a lot on the checks. I had to make sure that all my DNS entries were correct, and the routing, that type of thing. So, but I mean, once I got through all the checks, luckily my install went okay.
Cool.
Now, were you using holodeck, or were you using what determined what you ended up with? Did you do a RAID 5? Did you do how many ESX servers did you need to build your VCF environment? And it feels like the choices you make determine how many ESX servers you're going to have in deployed. So I'm just wondering how you determined what you were going to get from VCF.
Yeah. So initially, I just wanted to do just the basic. So I did 4 nested ESXi hosts, and then I added was it 3? I think I added three drives to each host so that they could set that up for the vSAN.
Right.
So I had a cache drive and a data drive. And so once it saw the host and it was able to, actually I'm wrong. So I had 4 hosts set up for the management domain, and then I did 4 extra hosts for the workload domain. But so initially I had those 4 hosts set up, and then did the deployment, and it set up the management domain. And then after that, then I did the workload domain.
So we're at 8 hosts, right?
Eight hosts,
yeah. 8 hosts.
Plus a Cloud Builder.
And then did you build an NSX network fabric when you were doing this? Like, and does that take an extra host as well? Or I thought that required 3 additional hosts.
No.
All right. Oh,
no. Cool. You have the management VM, and then you have the edge VMs. But yeah, it doesn't take any extra ESXi hosts.
Yeah, there are edge. 3. It depends on how you want to set it up. If you want a fully redundant and NSX deployment, you'll have multiple edges that can cover for each other while they're patching, and if one fails or something like that.
Right. I think that's where
you don't need additional hosts per se.
Okay. Right.
But yeah, you do have to plan for the host overlay network for the NSX.
But that's just another VLAN, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So once I had the management domain all set up, and then I did a workload domain. Basically, everything that I did for this was all manual. I didn't do the holodeck thing, but once I had it all done, I was pretty happy that what I got accomplished with it. But then I started seeing a bunch of automated stuff on William's website, and I haven't done it yet, but I really wanted to use his scripts to do a deployment with 5.2, because my lab is still 5.1. So I'd like to redeploy my lab using William's script with 5.2.
Yeah, 5.2 has got some nice improvements in it. And William has done a terrific job figuring out. I think the biggest thing that he's done is just figure out what those, that process is. That's sort of dark magic. They're not saying William does anything weird or whatever, but assembling all that stuff into a working automation script that isn't the installer is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you run vCenter server on a separate VM, and does that get up as part of the install, or do you set that up separately? And then, how does that work? Does that come with just the VCF install environment? You get a vCenter server.
Yep.
Then, yep. Mm-hmm. And what does that? Is that another? Just run a VM somewhere in the nested ESX top level environment?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Luckily, the drives that I have in my R730 are SSDs, so I get pretty good performance. But nested VMs, VMs on a nested host aren't the most optimal performance. But
good for testing.
Yeah,
you're not going to want to run anything in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's really why VMware has always said that nested operating in a nested environment isn't supported, and it's not that it doesn't work. It's because people try to run things in there and then complain it's slow. Well, of course it's slow. It's like that movie Inception. Every layer you go down, things slow down by an order of magnitude.
Yeah, it reminds me of the guys that built vSAN on USB storage devices. They hooked a whole bunch of that. It ran for like 3 minutes until the whole thing melted. Right, but it was you could do it.
Those are not reliable storage devices. No. But now I'm having flashbacks. Long time ago, somebody annoying me on a Linux box set their home directory to a floppy drive. Like that's do stuff like that.
Well, the old MS-DOS days when you had a single floppy drive, and it was a luxury to have the PC with a dual floppy drives.
Yeah, I had dual 5.25-inch 360K floppies. You don't see a drive B too often anymore.
No. I know they originally when I was at IBM, they had single A drive. That was it. And take A out, put other drive. Sit there playing drive floppies.
Yeah. Well, and then there's Apple. You had to flip it over, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so vCenter on its own VM running. When you got vCenter up, everything was in there then. So you had your network, you had your storage, you had your hosts, and you could go play the GUI and go start setting properties on things, I assume.
Yep. Yeah, so once it was up and running, go in the SDDC manager, started deploying more stuff, and it was great because once Broadcom announced about once VMUG announced about needing VCP VCF for VMUG Advantage, I used that environment to study for my exam and pass my exam. So it was extremely helpful.
How was the exam? I've heard some people just went in and took it cold, right, and didn't and missed some of the big stuff. But since they knew ESX really well, they were managed to skate through with like a 65, and you got to get above a 60 or a D, right? 60 70 is a D, but they got D and they got their cert. So just wonder what you thought of it.
Yeah, luckily I've taken over like 20 different VMware exams, so I'm very familiar with taking exams, and I've had a lot of experience with ESXi and different VMware products. So basically, all I really did was download the exam guide, go through the exam guide, and brush up on a few things. And I went in and took it. And I didn't think it was that difficult for somebody who has quite a bit of experience.
Good. So do you want to give us your grade, A, B, C, 90 and above, 80 above, 70 above? Where did you land?
I don't remember my exact score, but I think it was like a low B.
All right. Yeah, good. That's you're the highest I've heard, because everybody else I've done have just went in and cold and took it.
Fast.
Yeah, and they're getting like in this. Yeah, some of them got a 72, 71. Like, so
I'll
it
probably
seems like
get lost.
60 to 70 is don't study, go wing it. If you know ESX really well and vSphere and vCenter, you're probably going to get a D. 60 to 70 if you actually spent some time with vSAN and then the cloud manager. What do we call it? I can't remember. It's cloud director, cloud manager. What's the
Cloud builder?
Cloud builder.
SDC manager is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, cloud builder. I think you need to know about cloud builder to ace it, right? And a lot of people don't do that.
Hey, we've got a question coming in. Was there a practice exam? I actually don't know the answer to that. If the Mark, did you encounter a practice exam at all?
Yeah, there is a practice exam on VMware's site that you can take.
Cool.
But I found that it's not comparable to the actual exam. So don't feel that if you're doing really well on that you're going to fly through. But
yeah, sometimes the practice ones and the real ones get out of sync. I know. I think the last exam I took was a CISSP, same sort of thing. You know, the exam was wildly different than all the practice stuff. So,
and then I saw that they recently changed it. I don't know how much that it's changed, but I saw that there's actually a new version out now.
Okay,
they made it easier. They wanted people to come in with a 72, not a 62, right? But no, it's supposed to be not as difficult as other VCPs, right? So
to the practice area, Frankie's doing the community study group stuff still, right, Eric?
Yeah, he finished his series. There were four or five of them, and those are all
on YouTube.
Yeah, they're up on YouTube on the VMware Code channel. So if you go to youtube.com/VMware Code, he's got those published. You can watch, and takes you through the study guide and strategies for that. And at the end, does a summary of everything. So yeah, if you sit through those, each session is a couple hours. You know, there's 8 hours of listening. You should be able to study and pass.
Play it while you sleep and just dream about VCF, something like that.
And he's also there's a VCF administrator and there's a VCF architect. So he did the administrator, so you can go study and pass. And then he's also working on one for the architect,
that's cool. Yeah,
which he
awesome.
also did and studied. Yeah, so he says it was harder. He went and took it cold. He did a little studying and went and took the architecture exam, and he got a 59.
Ooh.
And he was like,
Now he knows what to fix.
Well, yeah, he went back and then did some studying, and now I think he passed it, or I think he was. I believe he passed it already, and now he's doing a study exam for that one as well. So it's good.
Yeah, I'm going to try to take the architect at Connect.
Yeah, that's good.
Another good reason to go to Connect. Yeah, you can take.
I always want to say 5.1 is vSphere 8 dot something. Like what's a VCF 5.1 is 8 something, right? Yeah,
all the fives are 8. So
yeah, and I know that there's a way to upgrade. So if you can go install 8 vSphere and with vSAN, and then there is a upgrade strategy that will allow you to avoid the installer and just go manually. They have a blog article that talks about how to just upgrade your vSphere 8 environment to VCF, right? And it's basically install NSX manually through this process and install Cloud Builder through this process, and you'll be at VCF. So interesting. That's what I'm going to do. That's my project.
So you're doing like a brownfield using the import tool?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't. It wasn't an import tool. It was the blog article takes you through how to do it, and it was basically here packages, go install these packages, and takes you through it. I didn't look at how the Cloud Builder install works, right? I haven't gone through it yet. So it could be when you get to they have you install NSX, then they have you install Cloud Builder, and I don't know what the Cloud Builder install process looks like what they're doing when you install that. Don't know.
Yeah, because I haven't done I'd like to get some experience using the import tool. So I thought
Yeah,
about creating some extra machines on my host so I could try to set up a brownfield environment so I could use the import tool.
yeah. The import tool is nice. It's got some snags in it as well, but generally it'll tell you what you need to do. Yeah, and getting better. That's like I said earlier, that's a real interesting area of development for VMware and the VMware products is getting people to be able to be VCF without, if you've installed things piecemeal, that sort of thing. So
yeah, there was a great session at Explorer last year on the import tool that I went to.
Yeah, I think my coworker Kyle did that one. Yeah, and he's done a lot of work with it, and that's a good one to look up in the Explorer archives if you're interested in that sort of thing, because he's got a lot of tips and tricks. He's done a lot more. I did it once, it worked fine, but I had a pretty simple environment too. So
yeah, one of the things that the reason I ask about 8 is a guy had 8 running just vSphere 8 in his home lab. He passed VCF. He went and got his license. He was part of the beta testing that we did. And he went and got his license. And it comes with, 8 and VCF. It comes with, an 8 license. But it says 8 for VCF. And when he used the license key to try to reauth his 8 without VCF, it wouldn't do it. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which means there must be a different 8 license key, which is why I was asking that, right? Because the 8 license key he got would not work for his generic 8. It was an 8 for VCF. So I just haven't seen that. Yeah, that is interesting, right? So I was gonna go research it and find out what the deal is there. Talk to the licensing alias. We got a GChat licensing group that we can put questions to. So I'm gonna go ask that, because I was surprised when he went back. Nope, complained, saying this is not a valid license. This is for 8. It was 8, and in the license key description, it did say 8 dot whatever for VCF in the license key description. So I was like, oh, and then it had the key, right? I was like, oh, I wonder if there really is a difference. Now, maybe it was just a difference in, programming, and there really isn't a difference but it might impact everybody that's getting their Advantage licenses for their home lab, and they haven't gone through the upgrade yet to VCF. They might think they're just getting an 8 license, and it might not work. So I'm going to go research that and find that out.
Yeah, I don't have anything interesting to say about that. I know licensing is going to be an interesting topic moving forward, but
yeah. The other one that Matt Hilstead say it again.
Hilstead.
Yeah. One of the things that he ran into was he couldn't remember his VMUG email address. And your VMUG email address.
He should. So, yeah.
Well, he remembered his email address, couldn't remember his password.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things you have to do is make sure your test email address matches your Advantage email address. If they don't, it has no way of knowing that you've purchased Advantage and passed the test. So those email addresses have to match, right? Yeah. So be aware. That's going to cause a lot of problems. We put it in several of the help sheets, right, where we said, hey, look, when you get your Advantage license, if you go into the portal to go get your license keys and downloads, and it doesn't show anything, it's because your Advantage email address does not match your Alpine testing email address, which is different than maybe your Broadcom customer email address, right? So you might use a different email address when you were getting your certification than you use when you're working on the Broadcom portal. Well, you need to use your Advantage. Your Advantage email address has to match your test email address, which could be different than your Broadcom support portal mail address. So I'm going to keep repeating this everywhere that I do any kind of media, because I guarantee you there's 3 potential email addresses that you could have. And if all 3 of them don't match, you're not going to get any bits downloaded. But it's kind of like Fight Club. Maybe you need to be smart enough to do it in order to, maybe you don't deserve to get a lot, I always say this stuff and then people yell at me because they spend a half a day trying to debug things and they're like, it wasn't funny, Eric. I'm like, yeah.
After the fact, you can laugh at it or whatever, but yeah, you usually only discover this stuff when you need it, and you need it in the heat of battle or something like that. And so it's worth, like, I just tried to log in as bob@plankers.com here because that's my VMUG login, that's my vExpert login, all that stuff. And I just discovered my support portal login was locked. It says account is locked, but it just sent me a password reset link. So I'm in. So yeah, it's probably worth checking that out.
So Mark, I know you got audio here. So did you, when you got your home lab license, did you get it through Advantage? You haven't gotten that. You must have just had a license for everything already, right? So
yeah. The license that I used was the VMUG Advantage 5.1 license.
Okay, right. So yeah, okay. Well,
this was pre. This was back in the VMware.
Yeah, last summer. Right. We still had licenses going all the way till December. So yeah, you were doing that before. And I asked my own question because the licenses aren't going live. We've been beta testing, but for everybody else, no one's gotten them. Not till next week. So I answered my own question there. Of course, you didn't use the Advantage ones. And what we were just talking about, Mark, is that your Alpine testing, your VCP test email address must match your VMUG Advantage address. So when you log in to the support portal, it'll ask you to use your test email address, your Alpine VCP certification email address you use to get your cert. And that has to match your VMUG. And if it doesn't, you're going to have to go edit your VMUG email address, then make them match. Or you can edit your Alpine email address. But the 2 email addresses have to match. And that's how we verify that you, 1, bought Advantage, and 2, pass a test somewhere. So, and we'll get a million calls on that. And no question.
So worth keeping. I've always tried to keep my vExpert, my VMUG, and all of that stuff separate from any work sort of things, that way there's no entanglement there. So yeah,
you get clean. And if you leave your job, then you still
want to keep this stuff, right?
Right, exactly. Right. So to have a private email address. Now, the funny thing is, Broadcom won't let you use a Google email address any longer, right? So they've stopped.
I don't know what the rationale is behind that, but yeah, the free email services or whatever, you have to have a different domain other than Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook.com, that sort of thing.
I think they really want to track that you're a real customer, and what they've discovered is that Gmail addresses do not identify you as anybody other than a fake account somewhere, right, or whatever, right? So that's good. So Mark, you've got Connect coming up. And you've mentioned wanting to upgrade to 5.2. Any other things in your back of your mind that you mentioned getting some experience with the importer? Like, what else you got going in your head?
I would like to possibly get my hands on the holodeck and then maybe try that out. I've seen a lot of different things online on William's site about holodeck. I'm not sure really how much different it is than the script he has set up.
It's holodeck is really cool. So a couple of guys really do a lot of work on it. Ben Sear, Kevin T. Bear, Wisconsin guys, in fact. And they've built it such that it's all small deployments so that you can get, it's meant for lab environments so that you can get multiple deployments in full VCF. It's got full connectivity. It's got a Linux box in there that's a router and does the DNS and all that stuff, so that it's got virtualized networking, all of that stuff. It's considerably different and considerably more customized than a just an install that you've done from the cloud builder and such.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, getting your hands on holodeck. We use it a lot for testing and whatnot. Moving forward here, we're doing a lot. Our next release, we look at our next releases with holodeck and things like that. So yeah, if you can get a hold of, I don't exactly know how to. Ben and Kevin set it up for me, and I just click go. But I don't know how to install it, but yeah, I believe there's instructions floating around there, and I know William has blogged about it as well.
Is that available for customers, or is that an internal only?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
There used to be a download, I think, for it, but now it doesn't seem like there's a customer download link anymore.
We probably hid it somewhere. As we got merged into Broadcom here, a lot of documentation and things moved around. So just finding all of it again. I'll ask these guys here. Hang on.
I wanted to mention one of the things that was really nice that I've read with 5.2 is you don't have to supply the license during the install. You can do the trial and then apply the license afterwards. So that's definitely a big benefit for 5.2.
Thing that's
go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
The other thing that's coming down the pike is, of course, the next version, the next major version, which, of course, we've been doing work on. So we are verifying that the NUC that we're recommending to go install VCF on, that William's going to have at Connect, will actually also run the next version. And so, if you have 8+1, you would have probably the number that I'm talking about here without actually saying the number. We are doing that work as well, which is also interesting, right? Because it's a little bit heavier install, a little bit more memory, a little bit bigger footprint. So, which is why I think we had to stick at 128 gig, right? Because we had to see if we could get a machine that would maybe even go up to 256 to go to the next version. What I want to see is, I've seen some screenshots of some of the dashboards, in dark mode, and some of the graphics that give you metrics, and also vDefender and ARIA. It will be not ARIA, Avi will also be part of the VMUG Advantage license keys that you're going to be getting next week. So if you pass VCP-VCF, you'll get those as well. And I've seen some of the dashboards that Avi does, and it's just really impressive looking graphics. So looking at metrics of alerts and intrusion detection and stuff. I'm excited about seeing that next version running in my home lab and getting to spend time with the cool graphics and doing screenshots, because I think it'll make our blogs look better, right?
Bob, you're on mute.
Yeah, you're muted.
You'd think after all this time I'd figure out the mute button. Thank you. The just to backtrack a little bit, it does look like the link for it's the Lab Constructor Holodeck Toolkit, and it looks like it's not available for download at the moment. I'll ask Ben and Kevin what's going on with that, and if we're going to make that available again. That can be an announcement on the next podcast.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that. Well, that's it's interesting. I think that we're coming into these times where everything is going to be available, and we're at 8 now, and we'll be at Connect, and there will be some pre-stats conversation about the next, and maybe some demos of the next version, and you can decide if you like the graphics as well, right, and the capabilities. There will be some interesting challenges that come up with that, but exciting times, right, to be part of the community and sharing a lot of great blog articles I expect to come out. I feel like, Bob, we haven't had anything super new for like a year now, right? So
vSphere 8 was what, 2.5 years ago now, but 9, there's a lot of work going into 9, and 9, the promise of VCF was always that integrated everything, and you could see that coming together, but with 9 it's really coming together. And so a lot of changes, a lot of interesting stuff, and I think it'll be interesting for a lot of the community, for a lot of customers, and just just management interfaces, like you said, the way things look. We've actually VMware has always had a small army of user experience designers worrying about how humans interact with the products, and having them get involved in this. How is this stuff laid out? How is it easy for humans to use? That sort of thing. That's a lot of people don't worry about that sort of thing, but if you can make interfaces easy, if make it easy to do the right things, that eliminates error, speeds things up, because at the end of the day, there's nerds like Mark and you and I that like playing with this stuff. And then there's a lot of folks that just want to set it up and go home, go see their family, go drink a beer, that sort of thing. And so I think there's going to be something for everyone in this next round of announcements.
I'm just telling the guys, could you guys make some of it not work so well so we can still have jobs, right? We still need the community,
It's software, dude. There's always going to be improvements. So.
There's always going to be day zero bugs that are going to come along that you're going to have to go deal with.
And then there's the old, I'm not going to upgrade until 9.1 or something like that. Well, then there's going to be stuff with that too. You just got to pick a point and go.
We were talking, and a lot of people 9. It's another year away. 9.1. We're going to wait definitely for 9.1. 9 will come out. 9.1 will come out. Then I wonder what the end of life for 8's going to be, like 2029. Like, I wonder how long.
Yeah, something like that. We can look that up. But with the security vulnerability,
I might be retirement age by the time I have to go to 9. So I could live my career on 8 and squeak it out till the end here.
But I mean, people should upgrade too, because there's all these new features and all this new functionality, and
the screenshots I've seen, I've been like, wow, that's going to be fun. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrific to play with. So, but to your point about age of stuff, with the security vulnerability last week, I got asked, does this affect vSphere 5.5? Like, oh my God, probably.
I work in a production environment. We have a site that has 5.5.
Yeah, you need to fix that, Mark. Get on it while you're still here talking to us.
I wish I had that power.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you for running a VMUG in St. Louis. It's a great
St.
thing.
Louis VMUG has always been a favorite of mine. So let me know if you want me to come down. There's also a Wisconsin VMUG meeting on the 18th. So.
Oh, yeah.
People ask me that, is St. Louis a big city? When they were asking, hey, are you going? I'm like, yeah, I'm going. They're like, is it a big city? So Mark, how do you answer that? Like, is it a big city? I mean, I got the arch there. Like, what do I say? I said, you got gambling on the river? Do those river boats that are docked at the city edge
We do have a couple casinos there. There's one in downtown St. Louis, and then there's one on the west side of St. Louis by the airport. So if you're into gambling, there's couple casinos to go gambling at. We have a really nice zoo in St. Louis, and it's free. Yeah, and while you're here, they have this thing called the Glow. And look it up online, the St. Louis Zoo and the Glow, and you go there at nighttime. They have all these lighted displays going on, and it is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, my kids really like the zoo. We also you guys have got a terrific science museum. I don't know if it's got a particular
Science Center.
name or the Science Center. Yeah, that was really neat as well.
Yeah. So
that's not tell them. I know you guys have beer because you already let me know. That's where the next tech is going to be. So definitely get there. So we got beer, we got tech, and we got gambling. That's just as good as Vegas. So
Well, we need to ask about barbecue though too.
Yes, yeah. There's some very good barbecue in St. Louis.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do they have beef in that area of the world? I don't know. Like, it seems like
cows have been known to roam close enough to somebody with a smoker there.
Yeah, St. Louis used to have a very, very large stockyard, but that's been gone for a very long time. But yeah, luckily we still have really good barbecue. And my favorite barbecue is Bogart's.
I've heard of that.
A lot of people really like Pappy's, but my favorite is Bogart's. So If you have
we're gonna have to
Louis, you need to go to
organize.
Bogarts.
We're gonna have to organize a late night barbecue run, for Connect when we're up there, right?
I think that's a terrific idea.
That's a good. We'll get Corey and everybody engaged on that.
You go to Bogarts, what do you get? Brisket, pulled pork. What do you
pork.
like?
I'm a pulled pork guy. Yeah. Sometimes I get burnt ends.
Oh, burnt ends are good. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had burnt ends in a while. We got a place down here that does pretty good burnt ends. I'm gonna have to go get some. Like that's got me going. It's lunchtime here in California. Like I said, it's 12:55. I'm hungry, and 10. That's really noon because of the time zone change, right? So it's
something like that. Yeah.
So it's lunch. I'm gonna get some barbecue. Final bit. I don't think we have Tony Foster on. I haven't heard anything from over on TalkShoe.
Tony, are you there?
I think he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. I'm looking over there. He's not there. So we're good to go. We're good to go. It's winter here in California, so we're just not ready to start to kick off the season yet, but we'll get there. We're going to get there. Yeah. Bob, thanks a lot. Mark, thanks a lot for being here. As always, we'll see you. I'll see you in St. Louis end of April. It'll be fun.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for the invite, guys.
All right.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to see you, man. See you soon.